Hello, everybody. Big Ruben here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose.
Welcome to Men Redefining Manhood, a movement for fathers and men ready to rewrite what it means to be men. Let's redefine manhood together.
Yeah, so let's redefine manhood together. That's for sure, man. You know, this topic that we have today, bro, is I think it's a topic that for men across the board, for the most part, may be true, right? Because men tend to be ego driven, and so sometimes, in situations when we're having discussions or conversations with like our spouses or even our children or with people in general, right? Like we may be constantly on the on the fence, and instead of listening, we're ready to defend ourselves. We're ready to respond or attack, right? And especially when we feel like our ego is being attacked, right? Like the minute, right? Like the minute somebody tells us something, and we feel attacked, like that's probably the minute we stop listening and we and we start attacking back, right? Even though that may not be the case.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah, I could say a handful of times that I've experienced that and kind of still experience it. And, I talk about it all the time. I'm a work in progress. I'm always quick to say I'm at fault. I'm not perfect. Yeah, I find myself a lot um, allowing my ego, or as I say, my machismo, to get in the way, because I think a lot has to do with that. Where my wife or my son will tell me something, and instead of actually listening to what they're saying, I get in defensive mode. And but now I've kind of learned to. One of the things that I've worked with my wife on, because a lot of times I find myself them saying something to me, and in my mind I translate it differently. And I don't know, it's because of my past, because of it is my machismo, my ego. But I've worked with my wife now where when she does tell me something, I'll kind of take some steps back and I'm like, wait. What did you mean by what you say? Or can you repeat what you said? Because sometimes they'll say something and in my mind I'll translate it differently, or I may have not heard it correctly. And a lot of times getting that having them say it back to me, having them reword it, or repeat themselves and stuff, I'll be like, oh, okay. And sometimes there's been a few times my wife was like, what did you think I said? And I'm like, she's like, you tell me what you thought I said. So I will, and she's like, that's not what I said, Ruben. I'm like, okay, can you repeat? Can you tell me what you said there? Because this is how I translated it. This is how I understood it. So she'll tell me, and I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, why did you think I said it like that? And I'm like, I don't know. But I think it has to do a lot with what we talked about, the last podcast. I think a lot of it comes from my history of being in a household where a lot of stuff was either not addressed or it was said a certain way, and it was just kind of like swept under the rug. So I find that doing that for myself, actually finding the time to like, hold on, what did I listen to? What did I really hear before I get into that defensive mode? Kind of to work on that. And so I think for me, that's been one of the biggest tools that I could do, is taking some steps back and being like, hey, what did you mean by that? Or can you repeat what you said? Because a lot of times, but I think it has to do with in the state that I'm in. Like if I'm already feeling overwhelmed and I've had a hard day at work or with school and stuff like that, I guess, I don't know, like I'll hear it differently.
Yeah.
But,
Well, you know what's I got to tell you, one of the biggest things, that I think for us men is a trigger is when the delivery has a lot to do with it, right? And if I hear my spouse say, like, you know what, because you didn't, or because of you, right? that's almost like assigning blame, and it's accusatory, right? And I find it that anytime that that's offered, it can be a catalyst for wanting to defend yourself. Oh, so what you're saying is that I'm at fault. Well, let me tell you what I think, right? And and so what I've learned is to be all inclusive, and that's been hard for me because it's very natural to say, hey, you know what, oh, why didn't you do this, or why did, right, instead of saying, hey, you know what, can this be done, or this wasn't done, do you need me to do it, or right. That in itself, I think it offers, like a hint, like, okay, that wasn't done, you were going to do it, I'm okay with doing it, but if it was your responsibility, then the right thing would be for you to say, oh, you know what, I forgot, no, I'll take care of it, right? Mm-hmm. And it avoids conflict, it avoids getting into these messy situations, right, where it creates a problem, and then too, you hit the nail right on the head, man. Like, that's a great thing, right? To be able to gain clarification, I think by far is the best thing, because us men, I'm gonna speak for myself, right? Like, my interpretation of something can be way off.
Mine
right?
has been way off.
And and it may be because my spouse is speaking more based on emotion, right? And she's trying to explain to me how she's feeling, but not in those direct words. And I'm seeing it very different, because I'm not interpreting it based on emotion. I'm interpreting it based on logic, right? And I'll be like, no, like, like, that's very easy. Like, what are you talking about? And she may be trying to say, yeah, easy for you, but it's not easy for me, right? So I have to like, oh, what do you mean by that? Like, is it difficult for you, or what is it, right? And that, I think, man, being able to listen, right? I mean, bottom line, just really taking the other person into account, what they're really intending to say.
Yeah, I get what you mean on that, because sometimes, a lot of times, I'm like, are you trying to be sarcastic? Are you trying to be an ass with me right now? And she's like, no, I legitimately don't understand that. And I'm like, wait, like I'll sit back and I'm like, wait, you're messing with me. And that'll kind of get me upset too. And it's like, are you really, like, joking with me right now? Like, trying to get me riled up? And it's like, no, it's like, I really don't understand this. And it's like, oh, okay. So for me, it's finding that time frame to be like, hold on, explain what you're trying to say, because I find myself translating it, and it's complete opposite of what was trying to be said. And it's like, oh dang, okay. And it's sitting in that the uncomfortableness, and that acknowledging, like, okay, my fault, I was already hyper. I was already overwhelmed, and I need to work on calming that down. Relax. We don't need to be so on edge about getting it done.
I'll give you a perfect example of something that came to mind, right? That has happened. It doesn't happen anymore, because I understand now, right? But there was a moment in time, and it happened over a couple of instances, right? Where my wife was in the kitchen, right? And she was either washing dishes, or she was cooking, or something, right? And I'd be in the family room, which is further away from the kitchen. But she would call out for me, and she would say, honey, can you get me a cup? Right? And logically, I'm thinking to myself, like, you're in the kitchen. Why can't you get the cup yourself, when I'm like, you're gonna make me walk from the family room into the kitchen to hand you a cup where you're at, right? Mm-hmm. Right, where you're already there, right? And so one day I actually told her, I said, because one time she called me from the garage, right? Mm-hmm. She went, and she's like, can you do me a favor? Can you come and help me with the, some dishes and stuff, and I was like, yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, you've been in the kitchen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went, and I went over there, and I asked her, I said, I said, I'm just curious. I said, like, you're in the kitchen and you're calling me to come and get you the stuff. Like, what is it about? And she's all like, because I'm short, I can't reach. Right? And I was like, right?
You're like, oh, yeah.
And and so it again, right? Logically, I'm thinking, like, you're there, you're positioned in the area, why can't, right? But obviously, from her experience and her point of view, she had a legitimate reason that I wasn't understanding.
Yeah.
So now it's like she's like, now she'll tell me, like, can you help me get a cup, because or can you help me get this, because it's further up, and I'm like, yeah, not a problem, and I go and I just get it, and I get it now. But again, right, like, that's just to show you how us men might. Yeah. We might go based off of our own experience, because maybe, like, and I'm not a tall person, right? But maybe because I'm taller, I don't see that as an issue for me to get a cup or a plate that's a little further up, and I'm not taking into account that for her it is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that. But listening, if you didn't find that time to gather that information and get the understanding of it, that would have made it. That frustration would have probably built, like, you're already in there. Get what you gotta get.
Yeah.
Like, you're already in there. So I get that, yeah. But it could be, yeah. I find it, for me, I find it, just having them repeat themselves or, reiterate what they were saying has been so helpful for me, because it's like, either I'm overwhelmed or something's going on, and it's like, okay, help me understand what you're trying to tell me, because that can cause some issues there on my behalf. And it's like, no. So
yeah.
I catch myself a lot, like, oh dang, okay. Oh, that's what you meant, okay. So it's very important for us not to get on that defensive side and be such, I don't think of ego, I think of being machista.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how much, what do you think? Tell me what you think, and you guys listening to our podcast, feel free to put your answers too, on our, on our comment section in our YouTube channel. For the most part, do our partners tend to intentionally want to incite or provoke us or create problems? Or do they genuinely come to us from a good place, and we're the ones, right, that somehow see a problem in it,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I think for me, and I read this thing not so long ago, for me, or something in the line where, like, as a young person that's always looked for I speak of myself as a young person, when I feel like I needed somebody and I needed that support, nobody was ever there for me. So for me now as an adult, even with my son and with my wife and kids and stuff, when they need me, and I don't understand it at times. When they need me, it could be kind of triggering for me at times, because it's like, I guess unintentionally, I think, like, fuck, nobody was ever there. I didn't have it, so, like, figure it out, know? Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult at times, and I got to catch myself, because I do catch myself sometimes where my son's asking me for something, and I'm like, dude, like, basic shit, get it done. And he's like, I don't know how to do that, Dad. And I'm like, okay. And it could be a little frustrating, and it's like, the hell, like, okay, like, I was able to do it. Like, sometimes it'll sit in my mind, and it's like, I was able to do it, but it's like, no, this is my role. This is my role as the father, as my wife's husband, to help them in that time of need, because there's stuff that she helps me with, there's stuff that my son will help me with, and it's like, but the generational stuff is difficult.
Yeah, and
to-
I think too, that shows, right, that listening goes beyond just words, right? That it isn't just about listening to what they're saying, but it's truly intimately understanding what's really happening, And I think, I'm going to hold myself accountable to this, that I think that, sometimes because I'm busy, because I'm doing, I'm on the go and I'm always doing something and so forth, right? I may not take the moment to stop and truly listen to what's being said, but what is the intention of what's being said, right? And I may be like, oh, okay, got it, right? And then I'll be like, wait a minute. And I've caught myself. I've stopped sometimes, like halfway through in the process. I'm like, wait, is this what my son or my daughter really meant? Or is this what my wife really meant? And then when I come to, then I go back. Like, wait, were you trying to tell me that you wanted me to do this, or were you telling me that this is how you were feeling? Like, what's really going on, right? Because then the mistake's on me, right? And then if I do something wrong, then I'm gonna feel upset because I put the effort in doing something that was far from what was being asked of me. And then I find myself having to defend myself, right? Like, no, that's not what I meant. Well, I'm sorry, but that's what I thought you meant, and that's what I did. No, well, what I meant was this, and that, well, if you should have told me, right? And then there's this back and forth, and it's like, right? And now you feel like, okay, you know what, like, so yeah, it's definitely right. Like, listening is important, and really like understanding what the intention is behind what's being said is huge, and is defending yourself really, is it really something that you have to do, especially in moments when you're actually not being attacked, right? Like you said, right? Like, because of our own trauma, our own past, we might feel like we're being attacked, but in reality we're not. They're just letting us know, like, hey, this is how I feel, this is what it is. And it's like, oh, and we take it and we run with it, So
also, like, when you're talking right now, I'm thinking, like, also finding that time to listen not only gives us an understanding of where they're coming from, but it also gives us an opportunity to build on that relationship. Because I was thinking myself, like, and there's a lot of stuff that I had to like learn on my own and stuff like that. Like, I think about a lot of it, like, one of the things that I love doing in my household is cooking. I love cooking. Like, I tell my wife, I don't even need you to cook. Like, I love cooking. That's something that I enjoy doing, but it's something that is therapeutic for me because growing up, my parents were gone often and I was kind of stuck alone. So I had to kind of learn on my own to cook. So finding the moment to teach my son certain things is that bonding experience with him, or vice versa with my wife too. And it's like I have to find more ways on listening, but also teaching and having that bonding with them.
Absolutely.
Instead of being, on the defense, like, you don't know this, you should know this, or learn how to do it. You know what I mean? So yeah, have to transition myself on that, because it could be kind of hard. It can be hard listening and not getting into the defensive mode. Because a lot of times, like I've been saying, a lot of times it's re-listening to what they were saying. Can you repeat what you were saying? Because a lot of times it's like, okay, like, I don't need to be defensive about it. This is somebody that cares about me, loves me, and wants good intention for me. So it's like I have to remember to put that little voice in the back of my head, the egoistic,
put it away.
and my dad's voice back here that I'm doing this wrong or that wrong. And it's like, no, we have to keep going and teaching and bonding with my family, because a lot of that can be affecting everything, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, like, I mean, there's probably opportunities where, it's okay to defend not yourself, but your point of view or your opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's a difference, right? Defending yourself as a person and defending your stance or your opinion of what you said, right? And again, everything is about communication and how you convey the message, right? And if you can share that, listen, you know what? I want you to know I'm defending my opinion. I'm not trying to defend myself. There's no need for me to defend myself, like you said, right? It's somebody that I love, somebody that has good intentions for me. It's somebody that I trust. Why would I have the need to defend myself from that person, right?
Yeah.
Rather, it's more about the conversation, type of thing, But again, all of that, again, it can be minimized, if listening is a good, is practiced, and yeah, that's the one thing that honestly, like I think it's a struggle, right, for people in general, especially in today's world where we're constantly on the go, everything's on the move, right? And you're going at 100 miles an hour, you got work, you got school, you got home, you got kids, you got this, you got bills, you got so many things come into play, right?
Yeah, a lot of overwhelming situations.
Yeah, but when it comes to, the communication in your household and with your part, maybe those are the moments, right, where we need to like stop and we need to like pause and like really, right, pay attention and listen,
sit in that moment.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, but that's what we have, right? That's what we have for this topic, and yeah, hopefully it's something that again, that our listeners can relate with, and put some of these things to practice and see how it helps, how it helps us too, like being able to use, and continue to practice the things that we do. So
yeah,
y'all have a good one. All right, take care, and till next time.
All right, take care.